Samantha Reed's 5-year-old was dumped at the Youth Crisis Center by Samantha's own parents. "We don't have space for Mia. Don't turn this into drama," the note read. Then they posted a happy picture captioned, "Family First." She didn't shout. She took action. 3 days later, they were the ones calling their lawyer in a panic. Samantha's parents had always warned her that life could change in a second, but she had never pictured the second being a scrap of paper on the kitchen counter. She stood there staring at the note like maybe the letters would rearrange themselves into something normal. Went to Costco or pizza in the oven, but they didn't change. The words stayed exactly the same. "We don't have space for Mia. Don't turn this into drama." The house felt wrong, too quiet. Mia's little sneakers were still by the front door, pink laces half untied. Her cereal bowl was in the sink with a ring of milk clinging to the sides. Her favorite stuffed fox sat on the couch, facing the TV like it had been watching cartoons with her that morning. Everything looked like Samantha's life, except Mia was gone. "Mia," Samantha called, even though she already knew Mia wasn't going to answer. Baby." Nothing, just the hum of the fridge and the tick of the clock her mother insisted wasn't loud. She walked down the hallway. Mia's door was open. It shouldn't have been open. The room was wrong too. The unicorn bedsheet was gone. The posters were gone. The shelf where Mia kept her crayons and broken plastic tiaras was empty. The closet doors stood wide open, hangers bare, floor completely cleared. The only thing left was a faint rectangle on the carpet where her toy box had been. She didn't think. She just spun around and nearly hit the door frame again. They were all there, her mom, her dad, her sister Danielle, sitting like they'd been waiting for Samantha to discover the crime scene. "Where is she?" Samantha's voice wasn't even a voice. It was a scrape. Mom lifted her eyes like this was inconvenient. "Samantha, don't start." "Where is Mia?" Samantha repeated. "Where is my daughter?" Dad exhaled through his nose. "You saw the note." "That wasn't a note," Samantha said. "That was a threat disguised as handwriting." "Where is she?" Danielle leaned her hip against the counter, mug in hand like she was hosting a brunch Samantha wasn't invited to. "Sam, you're spiraling. You need to breathe." "Tell me where my child is," Samantha snapped. Mom's face didn't move. "She's fine. She's safe. The Youth Crisis Center said they could take her right away." Samantha's stomach dropped so fast she actually reached for the wall. "You took her to a crisis center?" she whispered. "Without telling me?" "You were working," Mom said. "Like always. You can't do everything, Samantha. Someone had to step up." "Step up?" Samantha laughed, and it sounded unhinged even to her. "By making my daughter disappear?" Dad pushed his hands into his pockets like he was tired of supervising a tantrum. "You're not listening. This house has limits. We can't keep supporting you and Mia forever. It's draining. It's unfair to everyone." "To who?" she shot back. "To Danielle? To Paisley? To your wine budget?" Danielle's expression tightened. "Don't drag my family into your chaos. This is about you not coping." "Coping?" Samantha echoed. "Right. My 5-year-old is gone, and we're grading my coping skills." Mom stood, smoothing her sweater like she needed to look tidy for the announcement. "This is for the best. Mia will get stability, routine. You'll get a chance to reset your life without constantly drowning." "Where?" Samantha demanded. "Which center?" Dad shook his head. "Don't make this harder. Just accept it. You bring that kid back here, you're out on the street. And believe me, out there, you won't last a week." She stared at him, at the man who'd taught her to ride a bike and told her monsters weren't real. "You think I'm afraid of being alone?" Samantha asked quietly. "I've been alone in this house for years." Danielle rolled her eyes. "Oh, please." "Which? Center?" They exchanged a look, the kind that meant she's not letting this go. Finally, Mom muttered the name and street like she was giving Samantha directions to return a library book. Samantha didn't thank her. She didn't say anything. She just grabbed the note, walked out, and slammed the door so hard the frame shook. The drive blurred. 1 second she was on their street. The next she was in front of a beige building with pastel handprints painted on the windows. The kind of place that tried too hard to feel comforting and landed squarely on Erie. She walked in, heart pounding so loud she could almost barely hear herself speak. "My daughter," she said to the receptionist. "Mia, she was brought here this morning. I'm her mother." The woman blinked, startled. "Oh, your parents told us." "They lied," Samantha cut in. "Where is she?" A second receptionist stood up. "Ma'am, we need to verify." "Verify what?" Samantha snapped. "That I exist? That I didn't abandon my own child on a random Tuesday? My parents took her while I was at work and dumped her here. They left me a note." She slapped the note onto the desk. The receptionist flinched when she read it. A woman with a badge came out from a hallway. She looked like she'd been in too many rooms where someone was crying. "Come with me," she said. Her office had a box of tissues and a framed poster of clouds that said, "Every storm passes." Samantha hated it immediately. "Ms. Samantha Reed?" the woman asked. "Samantha is fine." "All right, Samantha, your parents said you asked them to place Mia here. They signed the intake." "I didn't ask for anything," Samantha said. "I went to work. When I came home, my daughter was gone. They cleared out her room. They left me that," she pointed at the note, "like she was a returned Amazon package." The woman exhaled through her nose. "Okay, I hear you. We need to confirm custody." "I'm her mother," Samantha said. "Full custody. No one else is on the paperwork. And unless you want to explain to CPS why you refuse to return a kidnapped 5-year-old, I need her brought out. Right now." The woman didn't argue. She left the room. A minute. 2. Samantha's hands wouldn't stop shaking. Then the door opened, and Mia stepped inside. Her hair was messed up from stress fidgeting. Her cheeks were blotchy. She held her little backpack to her chest like a life jacket. When she saw Samantha, she froze, then ran. "Mommy!" Mia cried, voice cracking. Samantha caught her and held on like someone might try to pry her away again. Mia buried her face in her mother's shoulder. Samantha felt her daughter's breath hitching in little jerks. "They said you didn't want me," Mia whispered. Samantha's throat closed. "Never," she said. "Never, Mia. I'm so sorry you were here even 1 minute." The staff member watched, eyes softening. "You can take her," she said quietly. "We'll finish the paperwork on our end." Samantha nodded, too busy holding her child together to speak. Outside, the sunlight felt wrong, too bright for the day she'd had. Mia clung to her hand as they walked to the car. She was quiet in that way kids get when they're trying to be small. "We going home?" Mia asked. Samantha opened the car door. "Not there," she said. "Not anymore." Mia nodded like she understood more than a 5-year-old should. Samantha buckled her in, climbed behind the wheel, and just drove. No destination, just forward. At a stoplight, her phone buzzed. Without thinking, she tapped the notification. A photo filled the screen. Her parents, her sister Danielle's 6-year-old daughter, Paisley, all in the backyard. Paisley swinging on the swing that used to be Mia's. Mom smiling like an ad for Serenity. Dad flipping burgers. Danielle captioning it, "New beginnings, family first." Samantha stared at it until the car behind her honked. Then she put her phone screen down and kept driving. She didn't know where she and Mia would sleep. She didn't know how they'd afford anything. She didn't know who would help them, or if anyone would. She just knew one thing. She wasn't going back. And 3 days later, the people who told her she wouldn't survive without them would learn exactly how wrong they were. If someone had asked Samantha's parents, they would have said Samantha and Danielle were raised in the same house, with the same chances. Technically, that was true. Practically, it was like they grew up on different planets that occasionally shared a bathroom. Danielle was the test run that went perfectly. Honor roll, cheer captain, glossy hair, senior photos in a white dress at sunset. Her parents paid for Danielle's degree, her wedding, the down payment on her first condo. When Danielle got pregnant with Paisley, their mother cried happy tears and said things like, "Our family is finally complete." Samantha got pregnant at 15. She didn't plan it. She didn't even really understand how to plan anything back then. She was a kid who still forgot her locker combination twice a month. One dumb decision, one boy who smiled like he knew secrets, and suddenly she was holding a pregnancy test in the school bathroom, her knees shaking so hard the stall door rattled. Telling the boy, Caleb, had been the easy part. He'd panicked, apologized in a way that sounded like she'd dented his car, and vanished. That part hurt less with time. Telling her parents was the part she still felt in her bones. She had stood in the living room while Danielle rocked newborn Paisley in a soft, pale blanket that looked like it belonged in an ad. Mom fussed over them, adjusting the blanket, smoothing Danielle's hair, saying how motherhood had transformed her. Samantha waited for a break in their joy. There wasn't one, so she forced one. "Mom," she said. "Dad, I need to tell you something." Mom turned just enough to look irritated. Dad didn't turn at all. "I'm pregnant," Samantha said. The room went so still that even Paisley stopped making noise. Mom blinked once, like her brain had tripped. Then she laughed, one sharp, humorless burst. "No, you're not." "I am," Samantha whispered. Dad finally twisted around. He stared at her the way someone stares at a stain they don't remember making. "You're 15, he said, not shocked, annoyed. 15, Samantha. What were you thinking?" Her throat tightened. "I don't know. I wasn't thinking. But it's happening." Danielle shifted Paisley on her shoulder, avoiding Samantha's eyes. Even the baby seemed uncomfortable. Mom walked towards Samantha slowly, like approaching something dangerous. "Tell me you're joking." "I'm not." Her mother's face changed, not into sadness, not worry, into anger. "You stupid girl," Mom hissed. "Danielle gives us a granddaughter and you, what, decide to try it too? Trying to steal her moment?" That sentence cut deeper than anything else. It wasn't just that their mother didn't want Samantha's baby. She didn't want Samantha in the picture at all. "I'm not trying to steal anything," Samantha said quietly. "I'm scared." "You should be," Dad snapped. "Who is he? What kind of lowlife knocks up a 15-year-old? Samantha shook her head. "I'm not telling you." Of course you're not, Mom said. Because you don't even know, do you? Wow, Samantha, I thought you had more sense. Samantha felt heat climbing up her neck. I know exactly who he is. I'm not naming him. That's my decision. Well, here's ours, Dad said. You're getting rid of it. Her stomach dropped. No, she whispered. I'm keeping her. Danielle's head snapped up. Why? She asked, like Samantha had just announced she was joining a cult. Because Samantha could already imagine the heartbeat, because she already felt protective, because something in her said, not this time, not this one. But she knew better than to say any of that out loud. Mom pointed to the hallway. You think we're raising another kid? Absolutely not. If you're old enough to do this, you're old enough to handle the consequences. You can't take me out of school, Samantha said. Oh, watch us, Mom replied. You'll work in the restaurant, full time. You'll pay rent. You'll pay for diapers. You'll pay for formula. Danielle earned an education. You chose something else. Danielle bounced Paisley gently. Mom, maybe she can still... She made her bed, Mom snapped. She can lie in it. And that was that. No hug. No, we'll figure this out. No, we still love you. Just a sentence handed down like a verdict. The months after that blurred. Morning sickness, double shifts at the family restaurant, Mom making a show of rolling her eyes whenever Samantha sat down, Dad reminding her they weren't responsible for her mess. Danielle handing her baby clothes that Paisley had outgrown, placing them in Samantha's lap like charity. When Mia was born, Mom held her for 30 seconds, sighed, and passed her back. She looks like you, she said. Not kindly. Dad never called himself Grandpa, not once. Samantha kept waiting for something to change, for them to thaw, for someone to look at Mia the way they looked at Paisley, with that soft, instinctive love that doesn't need to be earned. It never happened. Mia grew. Samantha worked. Danielle thrived. Her parents worshipped Paisley. They tolerated Mia. And Samantha, she was background noise, a cautionary tale with a name. Looking back, every sign was there. The favoritism, the resentment, the small cuts that added up to wounds. She should have known they'd do something awful one day. But even with all that history, Samantha hadn't thought they'd take it this far. She hadn't thought they would actually take her child. Not until the afternoon she came home from work, found the note, found the empty room, and realized the people who raised her were willing to throw away her daughter the second she became inconvenient. And that was when everything in her finally broke. Or maybe finally woke up. If someone has never left home with a child and nowhere to go, here's what it looks like from the outside. Every street looks the same, and none of them lead anywhere. Riley, a friend from school, saved Samantha and Mia from sleeping in the car. They hadn't talked much in years. Riley messaged Samantha sometimes, liked pictures of Mia, sent the occasional "we should hang out." When Samantha texted her, "Do you know anyone with a spare couch?" Riley sent back one word, "Mine." Riley's apartment was small and smelled like coffee beans and vanilla candles. She cleared off her couch, dug a spare blanket out of a closet, and handed Mia a mug of hot chocolate like it was an emergency kit. "You can stay a few days," Riley said. "We'll figure the rest out." Samantha wanted to argue. She didn't. She was too tired. The next morning, while Mia drew pictures at the kitchen table, Riley sat on her phone and fired off messages like a general organizing troops. "You've got restaurant experience," Riley said. "I know a girl who works at a cafe downtown. They're always short-staffed, day shifts, mostly. You could work while Mia's at school. It's not glamorous, but it's a paycheck that doesn't come with your parents attached. It wasn't a plan, not really, but it was a starting line. Samantha took the job. The cafe manager took one look at her, raised in a restaurant speed, and put her on the schedule by the end of the week. It was exhausting, but it was honest. No sighs when she clocked in, no lectures about being lucky to have this. Just coffee, customers, and sore feet. For the first time in years, Samantha could almost see a version of the future that was hers. On the third night at Riley's, when Mia had finally fallen asleep on a pile of pillows, Samantha's phone buzzed with a notification she almost ignored. A message request from someone she didn't know. "Hi, I hope this isn't weird. My name is Kathleen. I believe you knew my son, Caleb." Samantha stared at it so long the screen dimmed. She could have ignored it. Part of her wanted to. The name felt like a bruise. Instead, she typed, "Yeah, I did. Why?" The reply came fast. "I know this is a lot. Caleb passed away a few months ago. Before he died, he told us there might be a child. He didn't know for sure. He said he treated you badly and regretted it. He gave us your name and asked us to try to reach out if we ever found you. If I'm wrong, I'm so sorry to bother you, but if I'm not, could we talk?" Samantha read it 3 times. Caleb was dead. He'd talked about her. He'd regretted it. It didn't fix anything. It did crack something open. She told Riley she had to meet someone. She left Mia with her, kissed her daughter's forehead, and took the bus across town. Kathleen's house looked like the kind of place Samantha's parents would have driven past slowly just to complain about property taxes. Big, with a wide porch and actual columns. There were roses climbing a trellis and a brass knocker on the door that probably cost more than Samantha's entire wardrobe. A man in his late 50s, Gerald, as she'd soon learn, opened the door. He had Caleb's eyes, but softer. "Samantha?" he asked. "Yes." He smiled like he'd been holding his breath for months. "Come in. Kathleen's in the living room." The living room had paintings on the walls and shelves full of books and family photos. Caleb as a kid, Caleb at graduation, Caleb on a horse with a helmet slightly crooked. Samantha's stomach turned. Kathleen stood up when she saw Samantha. She looked tired, in the way grief exhausts you from the inside out. "Thank you for coming," Kathleen said. "Please, sit." Samantha sat on the edge of a very nice couch and held her hands together so they wouldn't shake. "I won't ask you any questions you don't want to answer," Kathleen said. "I just need to know. Did you have a child with my son?" There were 100 ways to pretend. Samantha was too tired for any of them. "Yes," she said. "Her name is Mia. She's 5. Kathleen closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them, they were wet. "Thank you," she whispered. Gerald cleared his throat. "Caleb told us about you before he died," he said. "He said he'd been a coward, that he'd pushed you into something you didn't want, that he'd asked you to take care of it, and when you didn't, he ran. He was ashamed. He didn't know if you'd kept the baby. He just kept saying, 'If she did, she's out there alone because of me.'" Samantha didn't know what to do with that. Part of her wanted to be angry he got a deathbed redemption arc when she got lectures and double shifts. Part of her was weirdly relieved he hadn't just moved on and forgotten she existed. "There's something else," Kathleen added. Caleb's grandmother left a trust. It was written so that any children he had would inherit if something happened to him. Gerald picked up the thread. "We don't have other grandchildren," he said. "If Mia is his, then the trust is hers. We've spoken to a lawyer. We'd need a DNA test, of course, to make it official. But we wanted to talk to you first, not behind your back." It was too much information layered over a life that still smelled like Riley's couch and cafe steam. "A trust," Samantha repeated. "A substantial one," Kathleen said carefully. "What do you want from me?" Samantha asked. "Nothing you don't want to give," Kathleen said. "We want to know Mia. We want to help. We can't change what Caleb did, but we can try to do right by his daughter, and by you, if you'll let us." Samantha believed her. She didn't know how. Maybe it was the way Kathleen said daughter, like it mattered. They introduced her to Mr. Ellis the next day. He wore a gray suit and glasses and talked like every sentence could be evidence later. "With your permission," he said, "we'll arrange a DNA test. If it confirms paternity, as we expect, the trust fund will be transferred into an account in Mia's name. As her guardian, you'll be able to manage it under certain conditions, and Kathleen and Gerald are prepared to offer housing and support if you choose." Housing, support, words her parents had only ever used as weapons. Samantha signed the consent forms. Her hands still shook, but this time it wasn't from fear alone. If life were fair, Samantha's story would have ended with the DNA test. A tidy little bow, Samantha, Mia, Kathleen, Gerald, all smiling awkwardly across a dining table like one of those insurance commercials. But life wasn't fair. And 3 days after the test, the real nightmare started. It began quietly, the way thunderstorms sometimes start, with that weird pressure drop you only notice if you're paying attention. Suddenly, Samantha's phone was full of messages she didn't understand. "Are you okay? Your parents are devastated. Praying for your healing. You didn't have to run away." Run away? Samantha was literally wiping tables at the cafe and eating leftover muffins for dinner. Running away would have required energy. Then Danielle posted something vague and melodramatic, like she was auditioning for a soap opera. "Sometimes doing the right thing breaks your heart." And people commented things like, "You're so strong," and "Poor Paisley, this is so hard." It took Samantha a full hour to realize the hard thing was apparently her existing. Then Kathleen called. Her voice was gentle, but too careful, like she was holding a fragile box and wasn't sure if it was empty or full of snakes. "Samantha Reed, we received a message from your parents." Samantha's stomach dropped. People only used her full name when something was wrong. No one ever said Samantha Reed before offering free cookies. "What did they say?" Samantha asked. There was a pause. Not long, but long enough for Samantha's heart to start mapping escape routes. "They implied you might have been struggling," Kathleen said softly. "Emotionally." Another pause. "And that you recently abandoned Mia." Samantha's mouth went dry. "What?" "They said they rescued her," Kathleen continued, her voice cracking. "They said the note was forged. They attached screenshots, statements. They sounded very concerned." For a second, the room around Samantha blurred. Riley had to say her name twice before Samantha remembered she had a body. "They're lying," Samantha whispered. "I want to believe you," Kathleen said. "I do, but this is serious, and with the trust, we need to be careful. We need to understand what happened." Samantha's parents hadn't just spread rumors. They'd gone for the nuclear option. Make everyone doubt her, even the people who barely knew her, the ones who actually wanted to help. She hung up and stared at her hands for a long time. They looked like the hands of a girl who'd carried plates at a restaurant since she was 16, who'd never been given the benefit of the doubt. If they could convince Kathleen and Gerald, they could convince anyone. The next morning, the official hit landed on Riley's doormat. A letter, thick envelope, lawyer's logo, Samantha's full name printed like a threat. Petition for emergency custody. She read the first paragraph and had to sit down. According to them, she had kidnapped Mia, abandoned her at the Youth Crisis Center, forged a note, fled the family home, endangered her child, manipulated Caleb's family for money, and was emotionally unstable, historically irresponsible, and unfit to parent. Riley put a hand on her shoulder. Sam, what are you going to do? What was Samantha going to do? She was going to fight. Even if the fight killed her. She took every dollar she had, plus a loan she had no business taking, and hired a lawyer. A real one. The kind who didn't blink when she explained the whole story in the span of one breath. He closed the file slowly. Your parents are thorough, he said, but lies often look polished because they've been rehearsed. Great, Samantha muttered. Glad they rehearsed. They prepared for court in Riley's living room. Mia colored at the coffee table, humming softly. Every so often she'd look up and ask if they could go to the park later. Samantha kept saying, maybe, even though she didn't know if she'd have her next week. Nights were worse. She lay awake listening to Riley's refrigerator hum, imagining every possible ending. Her parents winning, Kathleen and Gerald deciding she was too unstable, losing everything she'd spent 5 years trying to build. The fear was a physical thing. Heavy, constant, unanswered. Finally, the court date came. Family court looked nothing like TV. It was too bright, too beige, too full of people trying to decide which version of a story was least painful. Samantha's parents sat together, all sad eyes and trembling hands. Danielle sat next to them, Paisley on her lap like a prop. Their lawyer wore a suit so crisp it practically crackled. Samantha's lawyer leaned over. Remember, he whispered, you don't have to outperform them, just tell the truth. Easy for him to say. He hadn't been raised by people who could lie like they breathed. The hearing started. Samantha's mother went first. Watching her cry on command was like watching a magician pull a rabbit out of a hat. Impressive, if you ignored the number of times you'd seen her do it. She abandoned Mia, Mom said softly. We saved her. Dad nodded solemnly. Danielle dabbed her eyes with a tissue. Then the friends came up. The church lady beamed at the judge like she was teaching Sunday school. She's always been unstable, the woman said sweetly. The grandparents stepped up. Samantha clenched her jaw so hard it hurt. Her turn came. She stood, palms sweating. My parents took my daughter while I was working, Samantha said. They lied about me. They took her to a youth crisis center without my consent. I picked her up shaking and crying. Her voice cracked once. She didn't apologize. The judge studied her for a long moment, then set down her pen. I'd like to hear from the child. Everything inside Samantha froze. The bailiff brought Mia in. She looked tiny in the doorway. Pink leggings, messy ponytail, clutching her stuffed fox like it was the only stable thing in the universe. Her eyes found Samantha's immediately. That saved her. The judge leaned forward. Her voice softened in a way she hadn't used with any adult in the room. "Hi, Mia. Would you feel okay answering a few questions?" Mia nodded, hugging her fox. "Do you remember being at the Youth Crisis Center?" Another nod. "How did you get there?" Mia hesitated, glancing at Samantha for permission. Samantha nodded back. "Grandma took me," Mia said. The air left the room, Samantha's mother's shoulders locked. Danielle went white. The judge kept her tone steady. "And how did you feel there?" Mia's voice got smaller. "Scared. I cried a lot." Samantha felt something in her chest twist hard. "And what happened next?" the judge asked gently. "Mommy came," Mia whispered. "She found me. I thought she was gone, but she wasn't. I want to stay with Mommy." Simple words, devastating ones. The judge didn't rush. She let the silence do the work. Even the grandparents didn't dare breathe. "Thank you, Mia," the judge said. "You can sit with your mother." Mia walked straight to Samantha. Samantha lifted her onto her lap, Mia's small hand gripping her shirt like she was anchoring both of them. The judge turned to Samantha's parents. "Do you wish to challenge the child's statement?" Samantha's mother opened her mouth, then closed it. Dad stared straight ahead. Danielle looked at the floor like it might swallow her. The judge nodded once, made a final note, and read the decision. "Custody will remain with the mother, Samantha. The grandparents' petition is denied. Their allegations are unsupported and contradicted by the child's statement." Samantha's whole body exhaled. Mia looked up at her. "We can go home now?" "Yeah," Samantha said. "We can." Outside the courtroom, her mother tried one last time. "Samantha, this is a misunderstanding." "No," Samantha said. "This is the truth finally catching up." She didn't wait for whatever came next. Samantha and Mia walked out together, the stuffed fox bouncing under Mia's arm. They'd spent months trying to rewrite their story. That day, a 5-year-old wrote the ending for them. And it was the only version that ever mattered. Sometimes Samantha still thought about that courtroom. Not the verdict, just the moment Mia climbed into her lap, like she'd known all along they would win. Life moved fast after that. The DNA confirmation finalized the trust. $2.3 million set aside for Mia by Caleb's great-grandmother. Samantha became the trustee, which still felt surreal. It wasn't mansion money, but it was "we're safe forever" money. It was Samantha can finish school and Mia can go to college money. They rented a sunny little townhouse. Mia had her own room painted yellow and a bookshelf that wasn't shared with anyone else's child. Mia visited Kathleen and Gerald every week, holidays too. She ran into their arms yelling, "Grandma, Grandpa," like she'd been doing it her whole life. She never mentioned Samantha's parents, not once. It was like her brain quietly deleted the people who tried to delete her. And Samantha's parents? Their restaurant shut down after the truth leaked. Boycotts, bad reviews, empty tables. They sold the house, moved into a rental, and apparently couldn't keep up with bills. A cousin hinted they were hoping Samantha might help. She blocked the number. She didn't owe them a single cent. So, what do you think? Did it go too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more stories.